Hi, Claire.
Hi, Jules. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So we have Claire O'Toole here today, and I'm very interested to hear about the work that Claire does and why she loves the work that she does. What is the work that you do, and why do you love it?
Well, I've struggled with answering that question for a long time because I am one of those people who dabbles in lots of different spaces. I work in the people and culture space. I have spent time in operations, and at this point, what I do is I tend to try and knit those things together, the practical applications of what it is we're trying to achieve in a business and how we leverage the brilliance of the people involved in that process to make it as smooth, as interesting, as insightful and as innovative as possible. So I call myself a bit big-headedly a people and culture whisperer. It's about joining the dots between what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why people should give a shit.
Wow, that's so cool. And how did you end up down this path? Was it planned or was it a happy accident?
Not at all planned. Happy accident. I was managing a retail travel call center for a company called STA Travel, and their, I guess, raison d'etre was to create travel experiences that change people's perspective on what the world is and how they fit into it, which was something I was hugely passionate about as a keen traveller. And I was happy enough in my job, and the HR and training person that was their position was going on maternity leave. There were a couple of other roles coming up in the support office as well. Do you know, the HR and training role was one that I felt had not been done terribly well. Host of reasons, not really anything to do with the person who'd been in the position. I'm the sort of person who goes, there's a problem there and I know that I can fix it. So it was the problem that attracted me, the fact that there was something that could be done better. That's what it. So I fell into it and then discovered that that was a kind of gateway drug to a whole host of interesting ways of managing and motivating people. And eventually I divorced the HR and the training sides of it, and I focused on development because I found that the traditional HR approach of sort of direct and control and mediation versus the development approach of let me see what you've got, let me show you what you've got, let me show you what you're capable of, seemed to be quite opposed.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I agree. I like to refer to it as the reactive side of HR or people and culture and the proactive side.
Exactly. And the idea of this is how we need to treat our people, I found it vastly reductive. And so I really ran screaming from that quite quickly.
That's awesome. Okay, what is something about your work that would surprise most people?
I think often people want to make things tidy, and they think that the work that we do is about identifying a need and delivering a training program or something. But in actual fact, it's more about, I'm going to sound like a hippie, it's more about co-creating an environment in which people can figure out how they can best contribute. People think that they employ me to come in and fix their problems, but I actually come in to help them better understand their problems and to devise their own solutions. So it's that difference, right? I don't come in on a white horse and go, I have all the answers. I come in and go, wow, what are you dealing with? Show me what's working and what's not. And then I sort of help them walk up to their own realizations about what those problems are. So it's that sort of facilitation stuff as opposed to up to me elbows tinkering in your processes from day one. The biggest red flag for me and a client is we've decided that we need, a coaching program, and I go, why? And they can't really answer that. They just need one. They don't have time or budget or inclination to actually dig any deeper. And that becomes sort of kind of an interesting little whirlpool to go around in a few times to try and help people understand,
How does your work environment help you to thrive?
I work largely remotely, and I have done for years, long before COVID. And how does that help me thrive? I am certainly quite particular and specific in the way that I work. I sort of knit together disparate ideas quite quickly, and I find that I don't enjoy open plan offices. I do for the chatter, but I don't for the deep work. I have a very definite distinction between seed gathering and deep work, and I find that I need to control my environment for the deep work if I'm going to be able to be effective. And one of the most frustrating things for me about traditional corporate structures is the complete lack of understanding around that people want the output but they don't want the process.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what advice do you have for someone that would like to get into the work that you do so they can also love it too?
Look for the problems. Don't look for the solutions, look for the problems. And that sounds like I'm being kind of getting bogged down in complaining about the problem. But what I mean is really more about that understanding of the way that different systems interact. I think that when we jump very quickly to a solution, we run the risk of misdiagnosing the problem and therefore further complicating it. And that doesn't mean that it has to take 78 years to arrive at the conclusion of what the problem is. Normally it's actually quite fast when you talk to the right people. But it's about actually fully scoping out what the problem is, what the root causes are, and not being afraid to state that quite directly. Giving, in a way, using what you bring, instead of trying to fit a mold, trying to be a certain way, being curious, being interested, and being willing to be clear about what you see, and to be able to say, look, this is my perspective gathered from all of these conversations. It's not about me being right, it's about being open to this person.
Awesome. Well, this is a short, concise little interview. So thank you for sharing your insights with me. And this will obviously add on to a series, but there's some great nuggets. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you, Claire.
No worries. Cheers, Jules. All the best.